Compliance means regulations, and those are regulations from the federal government, state governments, industry regulations, and even regulations from insurance companies and clients. Why they're important is because clients have to comply. They don't have a choice. Compliance means that they have to comply with those regulations. That includes managed service providers who are providing services to clients in the healthcare industry, the financial industry, legal firms, and others that have to comply with different types of requirements. Some examples of compliance are HIPAA. HIPAA is the federal law that protects health information, and it governs not just the healthcare providers, but businesses that support them and come in contact with the health records or the systems that hold the health records. So managed service providers and IT companies have to comply. So do other companies like shredding companies, billing companies, law firms that represent healthcare organizations in malpractice suits, and others. The Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, GLBA, protects consumer information. So a lot of organizations like car dealers that have financial departments where you can borrow money to buy your car, mortgage companies and others that have consumer financial information have to comply with GLBA. There are banking regulations through the FFIEC, the NCUA for credit unions, the FDIC for banks, and the SEC for investment houses that tell those types of organizations what they have to do to protect data. We also have state laws. There are state laws that protect information like driver's license numbers and social security numbers. Some state laws protect information about your health. If you have a specific diagnosis such as HIV, mental health care, substance abuse, sexually transmitted diseases, even reproductive rights for minors are protected, and organizations that have that information have to comply. There are industry regulations. Law firms have to comply with regulations to keep client information confidential. There's PCI DSS. That's the payment card industry data security standards for any organization that takes credit cards. Other industry standards include requirements by the bar associations for law firms to keep client information confidential. There are also requirements for cyber liability insurance policies. We're seeing more and more of those today, where there are questionnaires that are asking organizations about their IT security, and there have been recent situations where the insurance companies haven't paid off when they found out that their clients either misled them or put the wrong information down accidentally on their policies. Finally, there are requirements by clients. We're seeing more and more of this, where there was a college recently that put a bid out for legal services and told the law firms that they needed to comply with a long list of cybersecurity requirements if they wanted their business. So you have federal requirements, state requirements, industry requirements, insurance company requirements, and client requirements, and every one of those is an opportunity for a managed service provider. There are basically two different types of regulations, prescriptive and reactive. Prescriptive means that they tell you you have to do these things to protect data. Many regulations are reactive. They tell you what you have to do if you have a data breach, but they don't give you instructions to follow to protect the data. All of the prescriptive regulations have some things in common. They require a risk analysis for you to identify what data you have, where it is, how it moves within your organization and in and out of your organization, and what the vulnerabilities and threats are. All of them require user training, password management. Some require encryption of data. Others require the reporting if there's a breach or if there's a compliance issue. So every one of these regulations is common in the sense that they're designed to protect data, but not everyone tells you how you should do it. I like to think of compliance as a three-legged stool, compliance and security both. In order to have compliance and security, you need three things. You need to have policies. Policies say you're going to do something. For example, we're going to protect our devices against malicious software. You also need to have procedures. Procedures will say how you're going to do it. For example, we're going to use a certain brand of endpoint protection software. We're going to have a certain brand of firewall, and we're going to have a certain type of encryption of the data on our devices. Finally, you need to have evidence that you're complying. That means reporting that proves that you're actually doing those things, and that has to be kept up to date so that you can prove that you're consistent and you remain compliant over time. In my companies, we've taken compliance and made it a strategic part of our businesses. We learned about healthcare compliance in 2003 when the HIPAA laws were coming out, and used that so that we could communicate with our end user clients, doctors and hospitals that needed to comply with these new regulations. By us understanding what their needs were and talking to them in their lingo, not in technical speak, we were able to communicate to them that we understood what the requirements were, and our services shifted from being technical services to compliance services. We sold into healthcare like no one else. We dealt with school districts. We found out for the school districts that they had to protect students from getting to websites that had bad information on them under the Children's Internet Protection Act. The Children's Internet Protection Act was a requirement for them to get their E-rate funding, and E-rate was worth millions of dollars per year. So instead of just selling them IT services, we showed them that our IT services and the firewalls that we sold would help them comply with the Children's Internet Protection Act, which helped them keep millions of dollars of E-rate money. And we got business from school districts offering the same services that others could, but they wanted to do business with us because we knew what they needed. MSPs can get into this business pretty easily, but you have to make a commitment to it. First of all, it's a strategic decision, not a tactical decision. Everyone from the owner or top managers on down have to be involved with this. You have to learn the compliance requirements. If you're already dealing in industries like healthcare, you have a legal obligation to comply yourself, so you better learn about it to protect your business. You can also leverage that knowledge to get more business and spread the word to others in the same industry. If you're looking to do business in a new industry, one thing you can do is find out what their compliance requirements are. If you can go to that company and talk to their compliance officer or someone in a strategic position or a chief operating officer, chief financial officer, chief executive officer, and let them know you understand their compliance requirements, you can tie your services to helping them comply, and that gives you a big edge in doing business with them. You also have to comply yourself. When it comes to dealing with healthcare organizations or financial organizations, both industries have requirements for vendors. So you have to understand what you need to do and make yourself compliant. Finally, go out and market it, talk about it, and just do it. We've had organizations, MSPs, talk to us and say that they were trying to avoid compliance requirements, and they found out they really couldn't. Because even if their clients weren't directly involved in healthcare, because their clients had healthcare clients, it meant that they also had to comply with the same requirements. So basically, compliance is a big opportunity for you. Go out and learn more about it and make it part of your strategic marketing.